Good morning, everybody, and I welcome you to the fifth session of the Quantum Technology Training for Policymakers. Today, we are going to talk about quantum communication, and we have three fantastic speakers that I'm going to introduce one by one as they are coming to the scene. So it will be Eleni Diamanti, Tommaso Occhipinti, and Vanesa Diaz. And here we go. I would like to first give you a short sense of who has registered to today's session. Now I will share my slides and do the slideshow. As always, I'm very happy to thanks a lot the all QCATS members who helped to set up this training, and in particular the National Research Council from Italy unit, where we have Professor Costanza Toninelli, me, Dr. Oxana Mishina, and a PhD student, Diana Tartaglia, who are organizing these sessions, who are leading in organizing these sessions. And yes, here we are in the Quantum Technology Training for Policymakers, where we hope to help you gain knowledge about the topics to take more informed decisions and to cooperate with peers from other countries, as we usually presenting the overview of around Europe. And of course, to sustain conversations with your fellow colleagues and physics experts, physicists, and other professional experts from quantum technology area. So to this aim, we have attracted a lot of you to sign up. So we had 67 registrants for this session, for example. And as you can see, most of you are well informed and keep themselves informed. And this session is designed exactly for that reason. And I would also like to happily note that today in particular, we had registrants from 26 countries. That is, I think, our record for this year, for these 5 sessions. And we have more and more equal participations from more countries and less and less, let's say, leading countries in participation. By the way, it's always different country leading in participation. And today the score is Spain. And now, as I already mentioned, we will talk about the communication, and the chair of today's session will be Eleni Diamanti. And as now I like very much practicing myself with the GPT chat activities, so I usually ask the GPT chat to pull 5 key points from the bio of Eleni, which I'm sure you already all read on the website. So she is a starting grant from the European Research Council, and she works in Paris and coordinates the Center for Quantum Technologies, and she's also involved to the European public and private partnership in photonics, and she's a co-founder and scientific advisor of the startup Welling. So please, Eleni, welcome at the stage, and we are looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Oksana, for this nice AI enhanced presentation. So let me share my screen as well. So I hope everybody can see. Okay, good. Okay, so thank you very much for this invitation. I'm particularly happy to be talking to you all, EU policymakers and people interested in quantum communication. So I was given the task to present in a few minutes the use cases for quantum communication, to present the context of this field. So let me emphasize in a few slides the key points that I think are important in this field. So let's start with a definition of a very, very global and general, to put the framework, definition of quantum communication. So in one sentence, we would say that quantum communication is the art of transferring quantum information between distant locations. So what we do in quantum communication, so contrary to quantum computing, so where you can have different modalities for the encoding of quantum information, here we're going to use photonic quantum states. So we're going to encode information in the quantum states of light. We're going to propagate them in optical fiber or free space channels. Okay, so we're going to hear a lot more about this in this session. And then the information processing is happening in the network nodes that can be processors, sensors, or memories, and all connected in quantum communication networks. So essential properties of such networks is security. So we're dealing with untrusted network users and devices, and we're interested as well in the efficient use and the optimal use of communication resources. And so in terms of applications, the overarching goal of such quantum communication protocol is to demonstrate an advantage, a provable and rigorous quantum advantage for in security and efficiency for communication information processing tasks. So let me go directly to my vision, to a sort of roadmap for quantum communication networks and the stages of such networks. So you will see in the horizontal scale, we see where we are in terms of time, okay, without the dates, so we can talk about it if you want. And then on the vertical scale, we are going from proof of principle systems to mature technologies. And I have separated this roadmap in four major, let's say, stages of such network. First of all, where we are presently, and we are advancing technology a lot, is the so-called prepare and measure or trusted node or switching type of network. So there is several ways of defining such networks. The point here is that we're sending quantum information between two users in the network, and then if these users, because there is a fundamental limit in the range that you can get on quantum communication links, you need, if the users are more distant than the available range in your system, you need to we need to use intermediate nodes that need to be trusted because they have access to the information, or you need to switch information through these intermediate nodes. So this primitive, this framework already gives rise to extremely important applications. We're going to talk about them extensively here, in particularly the field of quantum key distribution, but also other cryptographic primitives. Then in the next stage of the quantum network, we introduce entanglement, which is a major resource for quantum technologies, and you want to route entanglement through your quantum network. And then this gives rise to even more applications of quantum networking, like here secret sharing or anonymous communication. I just give you an example here. And when you add quantum memories into your system, which essentially is helpful for synchronizing efficiently the quantum operations in your network, you can have access to applications like secure multi-party computing. And finally, the final goal of such quantum information networks is to connect quantum processing units or sensors to access distributed quantum computing and sensing, for example. So let me now talk a little bit more focus on quantum key distribution, which is the flagship application of quantum cryptography and quantum communication. So this is basically a textbook vision of how a quantum key distribution system looks like, where you have Alice and Bob that are connecting the two users that wish to exchange secure messages, and they are connected with quantum channel and a classical authenticated channel. And the bottom line here is that thanks to the fundamental principles of quantum physics, we know that any information that the eavesdropper would like to obtain by listening to the classical channel and attacking, interfering with the quantum channel, will necessarily lead to perturbation in the communication link, and therefore eavesdropping will be detected. So this takes care of the so-called key agreement aspect of a secure message exchange, but of course, it can replace vulnerable algorithms that are used today for this task in today cryptographic practices, okay, but they are threatened by quantum computing, but it needs to be combined with authentication and message encryption techniques. So a major challenge today in the field is to create hybrid QKD, quantum and computational, so-called post-quantum schemes that are classical schemes that are based on mathematical algorithms that are considered or hoped to be secure against attacks by a quantum computer. And so just such hybrid schemes can offer practical security in depth, which is a major asset for cryptographic systems. And they also provide an advantage with respect to key dependency. So these are a bit of technical terms terms that in the sense that show that one needs to develop and identify specific use cases where such combinations from cryptographic techniques make sense and provide a true advantage. So in terms of long distance network, so to counter inherent range limitation that are due to optical fiber loss, one needs to go to terrestrial and satellite based networks. So there is a big tendency in Europe and abroad to deploy practical test beds because this helps testing interoperability, the maturity of the system, network integration aspects and topology, upgrading to the future quantum communication technology that I showed to you, and also use case benchmarking, of course. So going back to the stages of the quantum networks that I showed to you, the first quantum networks that have been deployed, like the very extended network that we find in China, is in the so-called trusted node paradigm, okay, that we discussed before, where there is a key that is being relayed through the network. And of course, as I mentioned, quantum memory and repeater technologies will help interconnecting over long distances devices for end-to-end security and quantum internet applications. So the use cases for such systems span the whole spectrum of application sectors where security is crucial. For example, I show you here data center, it's automated vehicles and home, critical infrastructures like I show here electrical grids or nuclear plants, healthcare as well with secure transfer of medical data, and as we mentioned earlier, up to distributed quantum devices in the longer term. What are the ongoing efforts? So in Europe, currently we have lots of activities in the field. So there is large consortia focusing on the resources and applications for quantum secure networks and enabling the quantum internet. There is a big effort to boost production facilities, design payloads, while also supporting fundamental research. And these give the technological capabilities for the deployment of the European quantum communication infrastructure, which is currently being deployed across all European member states, and its ambitions to offer an operational, integrated satellite and terrestrial system for ultra-secure exchange of cryptographic keys. But I should point out that we're not alone. Many countries in the world have ambitious plans in quantum communication. In China, for the moment, there is, as I showed, a focus on trusted nodes, integration with post-quantum cryptography, and satellite and terrestrial link integration, which is facilitated by the first and most advanced quantum communication satellite available today. South Korea as well is being deploying advanced quantum communication infrastructures focused on governmental services. US is focusing on entanglement distribution. The UK, there is quite a bit of efforts in the UK quantum communication hub focused on network routing and advanced functionalities. And of course, there are quite advanced quantum communication testbed efforts going on in Japan, in Canada, and also in Singapore that has recently announced the deployment of an extended quantum safe infrastructure. So we're living in a very dynamic environment, and we need to protect, of course, the European efforts in this direction. So to summarize, a few key takeaways in the field. So we have seen a significant progress in the TRL in recent years. We have high TRL QKD systems. You are going to hear about them by my colleagues in the next two talks. They are deployed in relatively moderate scale test beds here in Europe and all over the world. The security assumptions are relatively strong, as I told you, because we need intermediate nodes, which is perfectly okay for many use cases. We have milestone satellite quantum communication experiments, low TRL implementations of other quantum cryptographic functionalities and quantum memory devices. And so where should we go to scale up and use widely quantum communication technologies in global quantum networks? So the idea is that we try to, as much as possible, relax security assumptions, enhance the performance and offer agility and versatility in large-scale testbeds, integrate with post-quantum cryptography and standard network practices and enrich the available functionality with demonstrated quantum advantage. There is a massive effort as well going over all over the world, which is a very good framework for collaboration on certification and standardization. And for sure, the clear message for you policymakers is that it's going to be extremely important to have clear policy rules for wide adoption of quantum communication technology, including for cross-border links, for international collaboration, and sharing practices around the use cases of quantum communication. Thank you very much. This concludes. We cannot hear you, Oksana. I think you're muted.
Right, thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Eleni, for this very dense and extremely well prepared 7 minutes.
Thank you.
And now we will proceed with further detailed presentation about the QKD, and I welcome Tommaso Occhipinti, and of course I must also do the GPT chat extraction about Tommaso, that he is a research director at the CNR. Oh no, this was the Eleni. I'm sorry, it's the for this technical.
You are not sharing the display, I think.
I know,
Yes,
I know, not sharing the
also
display.
Okay.
But yes, so. And Tommaso is the CEO in Quantum Technology Italy, SRL company in Italy, obviously. And he began his career in 2002 in the academic research field of quantum astronomy and quantum communication, earning his PhD in the telecommunication engineering, by the way, which is from the Padova University. And in subsequent years, he ventured into entrepreneurship and funding innovation startups. And in the 2020, he went among the co-founders of the Quantum Technology Italy. So I welcome Tommaso to present us your progresses and about the QKD
systems. Yeah.
Topics.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the fantastic introduction, and also thanks a lot to the organizer, to all of you. I see a great participation, so I'm really happy to contribute to the discussion. So I share my screen. Do you see the screen?
Yes, all is great.
Okay. I present a little more the company and myself in the sense that yes, I am one of the co-founder of QTI. We incorporated in 2020, and we are an official spin-off of the National Research Council, in particular the 𝗔𝗲, so the National Institute of Optics. After essentially 1 year, we got the investment of the team group in Italy through a company that is called Telsi, which is a very old company working in cybersecurity and hardware ciphering units, hardware ciphering machines. So you understand why they were interested into QKD topics. Essentially today, we are 40 persons. We have 4 business divisions. We have essentially the headquarters in Florence, but we have also another office in Rome for business development. And we have more than 5 research projects with the European Commission and also with Italian projects, just to spread the R&D of our company, which is. But I mean, apart the fact that we are making research, we are also selling, and I would like to share with you some topics on that. The introduction on quantum key distribution and quantum communication was done perfectly by Eleni, so I don't want to stress you again on that. This is just my slide, but saying essentially what she was saying. I would like to focalize a little bit let's say, more, on the fact that quantum key distribution solves the problem of the cryptographic key distribution problem, and it solves by using natural rules, natural laws, okay? But the conventional way of distributing keys around, I mean, in the normal internet without the quantum, okay, stuff over there, was to secure the communication through computational complexity. So with the algorithms that are created by persons. So all you know that the quantum computer will break the current key distribution protocols. One way of distributing in a better way, in a public-private way, the keys is the so-called PQC, the post-quantum cryptography algorithm, which is still an algorithm and something that is created to try to battle the power of quantum computer, again, with normal and classical computations, algorithms. What I see here, and I would like to point out also to the policymaker, is that in the future, there will be agility. There will be an agility between the use of QKD and post-quantum cryptography. Just to give you an idea, we, in our products, we are using post-quantum cryptography. We have, of course, all our machines creating quantum key distribution to create symmetric keys with the properties of QKD. But for some specific task, for example, the authentication, which is still a big issue, okay, between the machine, we are using PQC algorithms. We are using other kind of algorithms, but also PQC algorithms. So the key word, in my opinion, here is agility, okay, agility between the systems. Again, why adopting QKD? I think everything was said. Just to stress again, QKD is future-proof security. We don't need to make any assumption of the eavesdropper or the attacker, okay? Because we are based on physical laws. So now I speak about quantum communication on Earth, and then I will say something of quantum communication and quantum key distribution in space. I speak about the ground application, showing some results that we have done together with the research, in particular with the 𝗔𝗲, with the National Research Council, and with the University of Trieste, for example. Here we were in 2021. We were at the G20 of the digitalization meeting, so a big political and technological event, and we were making a network between the Rijeka city, Ljubljana, and Trieste. Since between Trieste and Ljubljana there was no direct fiber connection, we were placing also a trusted node in Postonia.
I do not hear temporary Tommaso. Tommaso, do you hear me?
Hear me? Yes. Hear me?
Okay, now yes.
Sorry, the connection. So just to say, why 10 days, 15 days, but the key is real fibers, real fibers with different these are products that want to TL9 system that we are selling around the world, in Europe. They are fully integratable into existing telecom networks, so using the quantum channel inside a DWDM communication. show you. Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Problems because I also hear
connect.
the messages from the other sides that there are problems on the video and audio. So now I see
I'm
you.
switching the network.
Okay, thank you.
Let me check. Let me check if do you hear me better right now?
Yes.
Let's try. Sorry about this problem. I'm really sorry.
Don't worry. This is what we have to work through.
Yeah, the communication networks essentially. Okay, so anyhow,
thank you.
This is another case in the sense that we were making here this year in June an important demonstration asked by the EU Digital Assembly, and we were collaborating with other vendors, okay? So not using only QTI, okay, but we were using also other vendors, for example, LuxQuanta, and also other vendors of encryption, just to show that the QKD can be used using different vendors companies, which is again really, really important. And again, this is a point that the policymaker should understand, that some rules must be clearly sentenced in order to be to make the technology compatible between different vendors. We really think that is important at this point. Just to show another use case, which is a little bit more on the military side. Here this year in April, we were making a practical demonstration asked by NATO. We were making QKD between two command posts in a simulated battle environment. We were in Yuma, and it was really successful also because we were physically placing the machine into the desert, so very harsh and difficult environment. Again, just to give some other interesting point, this was an experiment with an underwater optical fibers between Sicily and Malta. But I would like to essentially go to the other part of my talk, since I lose a little bit more time, speaking about space. So space, as Eleni already said, is a lower tier lab, in the sense that we are still making some experiments. We are Europe is now starting the development of satellites. So what is the important key points here? First of all, the intermodality. We have to use fiber-based and optical space networks-based connection, making QKD in all these environments. So this is one key point. The other point is that we need some special technologies that in particular QTI can be the developer of this. I mean, we think that we are good on that. But coming back to the messages to the policymakers, first of all, there are very interesting programs, very interesting European programs. Here you can see also the money that Europe is pushing and placing into the space topics. Probably the 𝗷𝗲 project is the perspective, applying in a broad satellite way. But what we can give to the topic of space, we can deploy ground-based QKD to complete the space-based segment, and also we can adjust and we can optimize the QKD links for the satellite channel. For example, our key topics are on active optics, pointing, aiming, the special quantum states that are good for propagation in atmosphere, and also the management of the low power, which is really an important task for satellites. And I thank you, and sorry again for the connection.
You're muted, Oksana.
Thank you, Eleni. That's why we need two moderators. So thank you very much, Tommaso, for this very broad and interesting set of use cases. And with this, we continue, and the next presentation will be done by Vanesa Diaz. And Vanesa is the CEO of the LuxQuanta that Tommaso has already mentioned, which was in collaboration for one of the use cases. And she's bringing to the role of 20 years of experience in the optical fiber industry that was gained from working in one of the largest multinationals in the sector. She oversees the company's activity and related to business development, strategic partnership, and investor relationships, demonstrating an exceptional blend of technical and business knowledge. So Vanessa's background is rooted in the master in technical communication and in the business and marketing from Griffith University in Australia. Leading with vision and determination, Vanesa is propelling innovation in continuous variable QKD while establishing the LuxQuanta as an industry reference. And we are very happy that today Vanesa is going to present us more on continuous variable QKD and their use cases. Please welcome on stage, Vanesa.
Thank you, Oksana. I almost blush. I think it's the kindest reading of my bio ever. I mean, it's actually an honor being here. Thank you for the invitation. Actually, it's great because for me, this is a nice wrap up of the year to celebrate the incredible work that we're doing in Europe. We are positioning this region, this beautiful region, as one of the strongest in the world on deploying quantum key distribution. And I think it's great. So I'm loving the time for this little conversation altogether. So I've brought a small presentation to explain a bit more in detail what is so different of what we do at LuxQuanta, because you've heard a beautiful description between Eleni and Tommaso on quantum key distribution in general and in different transmission medium where you can use it. Then Tommaso was explaining their core expertise on discrete variable QKD and how they've been using it. So what is it what we do that has a different name, or deserves a different name, no? Continuous variable QKD, and where is it used? So starting as a LuxQuanta at a glance, because you've heard about me, but you haven't heard about the entire company. We are a startup that were born from a research center in Barcelona. It's called 𝗔𝗲. We have a couple of pretty strong investors backing us up. One is Corning, that's the company where I spent, as Oksana was saying, the biggest chunk of my career. We are product ready, so we are 2 years old because we were born in May 2021, but we have already secured a pretty large, multi-million sales this year with our first system that was released in February this year. It's called Nova LQ, and we are working on a version of it. It still will look like Nova LQ, but inside all the photonic components will be collapsed in a photonic chip, and that's going to help us achieve wonders. So we've been very active, and we are very grateful that the European Commission has put their confidence and trust on us with pretty large funding that we got this year. QTI with Tommaso and the rest of the European manufacturers, we all were backed up by the European Commission. This was amazing. Our project is called Quarter. And we have been working in this technology for a lot beyond these 2 years that we've been alive, because the project was incubated for 4 more years. So at the end, the reality and the reason why we've been able to release a product so soon and amaze the world is because there was a lot of know-how that we inherited, no, with our co-founders. Last but not least, we've been several times awarded, which again, for a little team of 22 people, is a hell of a feeling. So what is it continuous variable and what is it different? So discrete variable has been in the industry for quite a while, and what they do is quantum key distribution is about taking the information of the key in a safely way to the other side of the link, protecting it by the laws of quantum physics. So discrete variable is coding the information of the key, those zeros and ones, in a property of a photon. I'm oversimplifying, and the technical people, I'm sure that you are all screaming out there, but it's good to understand the basics. So you code the information, like for example, in the spin of the photon, and you send it through. So that forces you to have in the receiver a single photon detector. This is a great machine because it has great sensitivity. That's the reason why Tommaso can say that I can go to 100 kilometers distance. It's not so great on tolerating noise. So if you have a wavelength where you are transmitting the key, if you have noise or data being transmitted very close in the other wavelengths next to that quantum channel, as it's called, this single photon detector doesn't work so great, no? What we do is work in a different way. So we don't code the information in a property of the photon. We just get the entire optical wave, and then we just code the information in the amplitude and the phase. It's the same idea, it's just we do it differently. It's actually the way that the telecommunication industry has been transmitting information for years. So this allows us to have in the receiver a coherent detector. So what we have is just a local oscillator that is pumping that specific wavelength, and therefore we do allow this co-propagation in some parts of the network. Is great. The trade-off right now is that we are working around 40 kilometers maximum distance. So that's the reason why when we go out there, we like to say, that we are kind of like the super mini car that can do the job in cities, intra-city communication, where the distances are shorter. So this is very much a wrap-up on why the continuous variable quantum key distribution is so disruptive. So what we can do is in these environments where distances are shorter, because of this co-propagation, we can have in one optical fiber in the same optical band. And I want to stress this because, we can actually, in a DWDM wavelength distribution, we can actually work in one of those channels, very thin, very slim. And then you can use the rest for transmitting the data. So one fiber band. And we have the potential to deliver zero-touch integration, meaning at the end, you can have a machine that you just install in your network, and it's supposed to be seamless, regardless of whether it's quantum or not. It's very reliable because at the end, the components that we use are all very mature. So you have a system that can tolerate temperatures that are higher. In some environments, like a central office or a data center, this could be challenging. And that's the reason why we can deliver great key rate in this environment that we are targeting, this intra-city communication. So we can do a really good job. There is another story that is running in parallel because many of the manufacturers, quantum key distribution manufacturers out there, we believe that the way to go is to integrate that optical components into a photonic chip, because we believe that if we want this technology to ramp up, we need to be able to produce it fast and produce it cheap. So we have a nice, technically it's an easy pathway for us because every component that we use, again, there's nothing fancy. So that's meant to be easier in our way, in our pathway. So in a couple of years' time, we should have this other version that at the end will deliver these same benefits that I've said to you, but should be more financially affordable. So this is the system that we released in February, has been already, we partner actually already with Amazon Web Service. We'll tell you in a minute what this means. So Nova LQ is ticking the boxes on this vision that we have for continuous variable QKD. So it's already delivering this ease of deployment. It's already reliable and resilient, and is greatly automated as well. So there is a whole set of things that any vendor must, any quantum key distribution vendor must tick in the box. And there is an advanced telemetry that is coming with it. We allow multiple topologies, and this is very interesting because you could have one Alice in the center and several Bobs talking to the same Alice with a switch. We also have a QRNG from our sister company QSight, and of course this is very important, interoperability. Tommaso and Eleni have been talking about it. We need to make sure that our machines can talk to other machines, not only other vendors, because that's important too, but most important is just the rest of the machines in the ecosystem that you need to have a quantum communication established. So where do we place the system? So this is a graph that I've been using all this year because I think tells the story great about what's happening out there with quantum key distribution. The innovators here definitely is the governmental institutions. We are super grateful that Europe is the envy of many regions in the world because there is a lot of public money being put on not only maturing the technology, but also making sure that our deployment of this technology is secure by 2027 and beyond. So this is where we are seeing the biggest traction right now. The application is, again, this simple communication that already has been drafted, or explained by Tommaso and Eleni. So at the end, you have an optical fiber. You want to communicate to places with a guarantee that your technology or your information, it cannot be hacked regardless of the computational capacity of your adversary. So what we do is we add this extra layer, hardware layer, that using that same optical fiber between those two governmental entities, we can agree on a key that will be used by the encryptors to just protect the information. Also, it's business as usual. But there is another set of users, and this is where it's super interesting, because for us, this is where part of ourselves, but also field tests are taking place this year. And this is what's is ramping up as we speak. And it's related to telco providers, financial institutions, and cloud service providers. So this is where we've been working a lot this year. Telco operators is one of the clearest business cases for quantum key distribution. And if we think about metropolitan environments, some operators like Telefonica, they've been very, very blunt about the value of continuous variable QKD in this environment, because you don't have the luxury of having many optical fibers per customer. You have only one, and you cannot be shuffling things around or adding new network elements to be able to coexist with the quantum channel, but separated enough so there is not too much noise. We can just be thrown there into the C-band, and then the communication works beautifully. So telco operators can actually deploy this mesh of quantum key distribution links and become providers of keys. So at the end, it's one also of the applications that the European Commission sees for the EuroQCI deployment. This is some of the places where continuous variable can deliver great value, again, because of the distances. Another environment that we are working on, and again, we believe we can be pretty useful, is when you have you rely on a cloud service provider to protect your information. At the end, I've actually heard this at the beginning of my time in LuxQuanta. It's like, if I'm in the cloud, why do I need to protect my communication? But the reality is that from your office to the door into the cloud, there is a whole optical fiber link that is through public networks, and it deserves protection. No? So this is where you would add the quantum key distribution system at both sides of the link, the Alice and the Bob, and then using that very same optical fiber that you have been renting initially, or you have maybe on your own initially, you can insert the quantum key distribution channel and then protect the communication. So last but not least, this is very interesting. Early majority, utilities, hospitals, and the general industry, even the food industry. So what we're seeing here is a pretty important interest on a technology assessment. The business case is not so clear for them, so we have to work with them. We actually try to be very honest on when continuous variable versus discrete variable makes more sense, because otherwise it's just shooting yourself on the foot. But it's very interesting that these guys are already awake and trying to know more about where in the network, what type of information they need to protect, and where in the network these technologies can be deployed. So I think that we're living amazing times. I think it's a luxury being in Europe. It's a luxury having the European Commission backing us up with so much public money. There is still so much more work to do. That's something that we're going to discuss now in the panel. But again, we just want to thank for all the support we've received so far. And I'm looking forward to make Europe a cornerstone on quantum key distribution technologies. I think we are beautifully positioned to do that. Thank you.
Many thanks, Vanessa, for the amazing presentation. And here we are diving right away into the panel, as we have not as much time as we would like to left. So I see already that we have quite some questions, which some of them came through the Q&A now, and some were already posted in the registration form by the people who registered. So first question is to the Eleni, and as she talked about focusing, increasing performance with relaxed security requirements, being part of a national Europe QCI system. And Laurent says that ESA is taking a different approach, focusing on security for the Europe QCI space segment approach. And how shall that guide into one global Europe QCI system?
Okay, yes, thanks, Oksana. Thanks, Laurent, for the question. I don't think there is I think maybe what I said was probably misunderstood, because I don't think there is any contradiction in the approaches between ESA and what I said. I think the idea is to deploy a global EuroQCI system, englobing both terrestrial and space segments. And the comment I made was that we need, in all cases, including the space and terrestrial assessment, to work on the security assumptions that we're making on the system. I think right now we're making, in general, we're deploying technologies where there is this trusted node assumption globally, like more effort. So some effort should be taken to allow for configurations where it would be possible to include some untrusted nodes. But there is no contradiction in this deployment of this infrastructure. So I believe it's possible to advance in globally and in a comprehensive framework in this topic.
Thank you, Vanessa. Let's see if there were more questions. Sorry, Eleni. Oh, now Vanessa is saying thank you. You probably also would like to add something.
No, not really. I think no, not really. Eleni did a beautiful.
Okay,
report.
Very nice. Very nice. So now we have a few questions from the registration form, and actually all of them were posed by people from think tanks and industry sector. And first question is from Alex Ferrazis, I'm sorry. What role do you foresee for the European Commission in streamlining European policy on quantum, including export control?
So who wants to answer this question? I think personally that European Commission has a very, very strong position to hold in streamlining this policy. It is actually the European Commission, right, that is driving the policy on quantum, including export control. There is like currently lots of discussions on this topic, of course, because I think there is even a second question right below on the dual use of quantum technology. So this goes beyond quantum communication. It includes as well quantum computing. Global quantum technologies are dual use technologies. And so we are subject to export control regulations. I think I would like to hear the opinion of my industry co-panelists here. But for me, as a researcher, we should make sure that these policies take into account the fact that we do live in a globalized world and market. So we should allow as much as possible for while protecting EU sovereignty, but allow for use of supply chain. I guess it's very important. Use as well the technologies that we may need outside the EU space, while also, of course, enhancing our strategic autonomy. But I'm sure Tommaso and Vanessa have more things to say on this.
Please, Tommaso.
Yeah, just to add a note, which I am really proud of saying that, in my opinion, Europe is in some sense leading the quantum. I'm not saying leading, but we are really in the upfront of the quantum technology, and in quantum technology, and in particular in quantum communication, we are really great. And also, this the European Commission knows because they push in every aspect the research of these topics. So we have to say this, in my opinion. The second thing that I would like to say is that, of course, there's a lot of topics to be developed from a policy point of view. And we already mentioned, my urgency is the standardization, the certification, the fact that we need some labs that are not related to QTI or to LuxQuanta to sentence that our products are good and our products are doing what they are, what we say that they are doing. So these kind of things must be ruled, in my opinion, from an upper organization like the European Commission and European Union. But we are really in a positive position, in my opinion.
Thank you, Tommaso. Vanessa, you have, I see you are really much agreeing with Tommaso.
Sí. So I think the work has been great. I think it's been nicely structured. So you first need to see the local manufacturers to mature their solutions. So we're ready for what's yet to come. But the standardization, certification, that is painful, because if you hear the industry out there, the other day there was a bank, pretty large, saying that they couldn't. They in each country they adopt the policies that the local security agency states. No, so if the local security agencies, we were discussing this preparing this panel, are rowing against quantum key distribution in favor of post-quantum cryptography, so rowing against quantum key distribution in favor of more mathematical problems, that is kind of like delays everything in a way, because if you want to have standardization is a work that we can do as an industry and collaborate. There are standard organizations that are working on it. And I think if we show that there's a push from governments plus private industry, this speeds up. So it's happening kind of like in parallel. But there is a concern in the industry that if these systems are not certified, so they cannot truly really state that they can protect confidential information, there is a barrier for them to really adopt them as much as they like it. There is also local security agencies that are super loaded up with work. So we need to make sure that quantum key distribution, if it's a priority for the European Commission, becomes a priority of every single national security agency in every single European member state. And that's something that, again, I think could be super useful. I've heard as well that there will be some more support from the European Commission to make sure that this work on certification is done. At the end, in Europe, we are right now, I think, 6 confirmed companies, manufacturers, 7. We need to work together and make sure that we take our certification level to that famous IL4+, so we can truly sell to governmental institutions and handle such restricted information. So that kind of support, as soon as the European Commission is there and is just hauling everybody up and is making us responsible of public money to execute, that definitely helps a lot. But I think there is, again, I think that we need the European Commission to be more strong, help us convince the national security agencies that it's worth a more favorable position towards quantum key distribution.
All right. I think these are really quite direct and clear messages to the European Commission. And actually, we are already halfway through answering the question of Matteo Moscagni, exactly from the Commission. He wrote what kind of support is still missing in the European quantum communication. And this is what was said explicitly now by Vanessa and Tommaso. And
sorry, there's one more thing. This is going to sound not so relevant as the answers that you've been hearing from us all, but we need to make more good noise. Like what we're doing here is pretty outstanding, and I don't think we're bragging enough out there. And believe it or not, this kind of bragging, it helps a lot for people to wake up to the fact that quantum key distribution is a technology that is being sold today. People think about quantum technologies, they think about quantum computers. Quantum computers, they still have some way to go, thanks God, because that way we can prepare. But we are already ready, and people are not aware that we're ready. So it's like we are the ugly brother of the quantum technologies when we are actually the strongest and the most advanced. So a bit more bragging in that direction, that we're so strong in Europe, I think is going to help as well to put the focus on these technologies. The more attention we get, the faster we'll get the standardization done. Everything is just gonna smooth.
Okay, and what would be the way to do it?
More marketing, sexy marketing.
Awareness, public awareness.
Exactly.
I totally agree.
We're working on it, public awareness. We're doing it.
So much.
Public.
I know this is actually this is great, but yes.
But I totally agree with you, Vanessa, because as I am doing a lot of communication and outreach, I see that there is very natural, let's say, extra attention towards quantum computing. and there is very little squeeze out of all the rest. I'm trying hard to change this landscape, but this is really difficult because indeed there is the sexy marketing on quantum computing, and I still haven't got yet why it is such. But it's like a self-propelling thing. Big companies start to do it, and then others do it as well.
Yeah.
So we need some kind of a way to battle this. And I think that what is a good strategy is, for example, in many countries, thanks to the Quantum World Day, the World Quantum Day on 14 April, there are a lot of initiatives. And these initiatives are the key for local settings to, let's say, expand this visibility, to do the sexy marketing and so on. This year, for example, in Italy, we have a third year of Italian Quantum Weeks, and we are going to talk about technologies specifically. And yeah, so we should really pay attention. This was a message for us, the communicators, that what shall we do in to facilitate this European visibility. Okay, so we have also had the questions about the sufficiency of the funding for this area. And then if the synergy between different EU financial support like HE, DEP, ESIF, and RRF, and other supports adequately implemented in the case of quantum computing or quantum communication.
I personally think it's fantastic. Honestly, we're very lucky. So for us, there's been a before and an after. We got the money from the European Commission for quarter, and the money from the European Commission is pouring down at national level, and it's also been helping us as well from other channels. But at the end, it's just the same. It's European public money. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, this is a tricky question because you always want to, to ask for those for more, but it's true, the support, I agree with Vanesa. We have to admit that the support has been very good, has triggered lots of innovation, and it has played a really catalytic role for the development of quantum communication in Europe. Doesn't mean that we don't need more, huh?
Yeah, that's mean that there's still
we need
challenges ahead.
Support.
I know, but still, like actually one of the slides I didn't show is just how many consortiums we are part of. Most of us in this call are in those consortiums. Some are absolutely huge, and the scope of them is outstanding. Honestly, I think maybe right now we cannot say we are the leaders because China has done a great job, for many years now. I'm pretty sure that we have the people and we have the tools to become the leaders in this.
All right. And we still have a couple of questions. I do have to admit that we are running out of time, and we have to respect the timings of all our panelists as well, and let them go, as well as the people who are still holding on. We still have 30 participants with us, and it's really great. Maybe we give one more last question, and then we close our session with greetings in all the languages, no? So it's hard to pick here the questions. They are a lot, and they're very, very noticeable. So maybe you have already read some of those, and you would like to pick up and answer some which is more close to you, Tommaso.
Yes, just short answer. I mean, it requires a little bit more time, but just to answer to David, who is asking, is essentially sentencing some that quantum key distribution needs a dedicated optical fiber, in particular for the discrete variable. I mean, our QTI products. I mean, this is not just the case. I mean, we are working in dedicated fiber, but also in fibers with the optical traffic already, or we just need a lambda. So we need, for example, to work in the O band, if you are aware about, I mean, yes, I think you are aware since you are a network person. We work in the O band, the optical traffic goes in the C band. The only problem is the optical amplifier, but I mean, we already made a lot of demos on working on in a real trafficked infrastructure. Okay.
I'd like to say something to David because I know this guy. I can't believe it. He's just so serious asking the question. Great question. Really good question. Actually, you have the three people that you needed to answer the question. So Tommaso's answered. You have there an idea. Eleni is working with her company as well on repeaters, so that's going to solve some of the problems too. And then continuous variable QKD is not fundamentally limited at the distances that we're working on with today. So we can push it. We can, right now we're working on 40. We can double that. We'll get there. So just give us some more time. I mean, at the beginning, the three of us from the industry were still babies. Like Tommaso is 3 years old until Eleni's now almost being born. Just give us time. We'll get there.
Oh, wow.
Can I make one just last comment, because there have been quite a couple of questions on national security agencies. So
Yes,
Vanesa
exactly.
explained this. Vanesa explained how important this is very, very well. So I would like to add one more layer to this, because it's mentioned in particular ANSI in France, so where I am located, which is doesn't have a very favorable indeed position, as the question says, on QKD. So I would say that there is a little bit indeed of a non-uniform opinions about QKD among the national security agencies in the member states. But as is said also by Alessio, there is quite a few of them that actually do participate actively in the EuroQCI actions and deployment in the working groups, etc. So I should say, I think it's important for the community to listen to the criticism and challenging opinions of agencies like ANSI. We actually have, this has actually driven quite a bit of thinking and ways of convincing such agencies that it's important to migrate towards hybrid infrastructures and security solutions. And I think it's up to us to convince as well, to hear their opinion and to convince them that it does make sense. There is a point in for specific use cases in deploying QKD. I'm obviously convinced about this, and I think we're in the process of making progress both in the maturity of the systems and in the use cases where they can be deployed, where it will make perfect sense, and this will obviously be helped a lot by certification and standardization, will perfectly make sense for companies and end users to integrate such solution in the security services, just because it really adds a layer of security. It makes sense, and it will be useful. So it's up to us, I think, to involve the security agencies. So there is a little bit of normal when a new technology comes into the picture, it's normal to express some concern. I think we should take into account, consider it seriously, but it's important, as Vanesa said, that they are involved to make sure that this technology that will be deployed is deployed properly. So this is this is quite important. So I'd like to emphasize
Thank
that.
you very much, Eleni. I think that you have touched also quite upon the question of Laurent, who is asking why in the US there is more push on post-quantum cryptography, and we here are instead investing on continuous variable QKD. And so your answer, if I get it correctly, is that actually the response to all of the problem is the hybrid infrastructure.
Yes,
because one thing will not solve it, but there is another important part to it, is that you cannot prioritize one and abandon the other one, because then you will have holes.
And advancing in QKD technology is a key point as well. Maybe that's what they do in the US. It's not because in France as well, we're really developing a lot and strongly this technology. It doesn't mean that because ANSI is kind of a negative position that we don't work on it. I think it's extremely important to advance the technology, and probably this is the answer to Laurent's question. This is what's happening in the US as well. It's our job to make it work and convince that it makes sense. So deploy it. So.
Just to say that they never said, I mean, the United States, they never said that the QKD is not good. They just said, try to push, I mean, PQC, and push, and they are pushing PQC. So I totally agree with Eleni and Vanesa. Just to say that also, that think about our demo made by NATO at the Yuma facility in the United States. This is a clue of interest, and it was done in the United States.
I'd like to comment as well on that. Sorry, my camera is not on. I think Oxana is going to give me access now. I think that there are different possibilities why they've been so strongly advocating PQC. So first of all, we're gonna argue the fact that right now, because it's been tested by NIST on the finalists and it's a software-based solution, technically it's supposed to be faster to install. Nevertheless, to me, the fact that they are encouraging so much right now the deployment of PQC is because they see a real problem around the corner. Actually, they are really forcing people to start looking at this now. So it's symptomatic that the problem is around the corner from here. Now, why they are so against QKD? One of the reasons is perhaps because they don't have local manufacturers. If you look at the vendors around the world, so the strongest regions are right now China, they have plenty of them. The next, I believe, is Europe. And in the US, I'm not sure they actually have a manufacturer. You hear the some, but it's not very clear. So it wouldn't be a very strategic decision to put forward quantum key distribution where you do not have a local manufacturer, when you know that for governmental purposes, it's so good that this technology is born and bred in your country. So it's food for thinking. Don't have a full answer, but it's food for thinking.
Okay, Oxana is preparing for the goodbye.
I think it's time for us to close the session, and this is a Christmas
nice
session.
hat.
Thank you. I promised already to Eleni and Tommaso. Now, Vanessa, I will let you also in. So I suggest that we greet everybody and say goodbye, everybody. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, or Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, depends how it goes in your country. In mine, it's the other way around. So, and I start and I say, до свидания, с Новым годом и с Рождеством.
Wow.
I invite Tommaso, he's next to me in my video.
Thank you very much, and tanti auguri a tutti quanti.
Eleni.
So I'm both a Greek and French national, so I'm going to say it in two languages. So in Greek, χρόνια πολλά και καλή χρονιά, and in French, bonne fête et bonne année.
Merci beaucoup, Vanessa.
I love Europe. It's so beautiful. So many languages, so many cultures. Feliz Navidad to all of you. Thanks for the invitation as well. It was great.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, 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 bye-bye.
Bye.